We're just on the harbour side. It's a beautiful day, and with me is John Bradford, who's the brains behind the event. Hello, John.
Hello, Thea. I wouldn't quite go that far, but thank you for the compliment.
Before we start with everything about Voxxed and how you came about organising it, could you tell me a bit about yourself?
Sure. Okay, so I'm John Bradford. I'm Chief Exec of an outfit called High Tech Bristol and Bath. We're a non-profit membership organisation for the high-tech community in the area, and part of what we do is to help the community come together around special interest groups and then do for them the activities that they want us to do. And it was the cloud computing special interest group that wanted a way to promote Bristol and what was really cool about being a software engineer here. And so it was that led to Voxxed Days coming to Bristol.
Brilliant, thank you. How do you put together such an event like this? How on earth?
With lots of support. So behind the scenes, there's a large team of volunteers from the tech community who have been on the programme review panel, have helped suggest speakers, have promoted it through their networks. There's a very strong meetup community in the Bristol area, so they've promoted it to the local software developers and engineers. We work very closely with Voxxed.com, and they've put it out through their international network. So we've got speakers from Brazil, India, Seattle, all of whom have found it through the international network of software engineers. So there's a lot of people behind the scenes. And then I've got a small team, and we have a run list of how to put on a conference. And it starts with getting the call for speakers out and securing the venue, and it finishes with a wrap-up session and lessons learned.
Wow. Yes.
But it takes about 9 months from start to finish.
Wow. It seems very international, but at the same time it seems like a community thing, and your wife handed me a T-shirt on the way in, and it's really, it's a nice event to bring to Bristol.
It is. I mean, the software, the development community, because it's a very technical community, is very closely integrated. So a lot of these conversations take place over IRC or chat. People swap news stories. There's an awful lot of code sharing takes place. Most of the speakers and attendees will also develop code in their spare time because it's what they love doing. And so they'll be sharing that code on GitHub. They'll make relationships and friends with people online who could be anywhere in the world. And so it is a very international community. And here in Bristol, we've got the added benefit of being a very close geographical location. So people can walk down to Harbourside, walk to the engine shed, pop into Stokes Croft, meet different communities, whether it's the gaming community, the VR community, the deep technical high-performance compute community, and they can swap stories of this is how we do it, this is how we do it. And that way you build a sense of belonging, a sense of shared understanding for that world.
So would you say that Bristol's particularly pioneering in the tech industry?
Yes, of course I would. No, but genuinely, Bristol was at the forefront of a lot of the microelectronics development back in the 70s, and that led to a deep understanding of this technology, which is why you've got companies like Oracle building out their global business intelligence and deployment activities here. You've got Cray Supercomputers have their European headquarters here. You've got a lot of mobile wireless development taking place here. You've got the University of Bristol and City Council working on Bristol as Open. You've got the Engine Shed and the Set Squared Accelerator, the global #1 business accelerator for university spin-outs, doing amazing stuff with startup communities. You've got companies like Yellow Dog and Ultra Haptics and Blue Wireless, all of whom are very much at the forefront of technology, cloud engineering, software.
Brilliant. So we've asked you the how of this event, but why? Why do you do this for Bristol and other places as well?
So I organise for Voxxed Days Bristol, and the simple answer is that my members asked for an event that would raise the profile of the city on the global stage as a centre for cloud engineering. And as a membership organisation, I respond to my members' desires and needs. They had done a lot of discussions within the community about what was going on here and how widely it was known. And there's a bit of a feeling that Bristol sometimes doesn't shout about what it does. There's a saying that we hide our light under a bushel, then we put the bushel in a shed, then we build a big fence around the shed so no one can see it. And to a certain extent, that's true. The other side is that a lot of the stuff that's taking place here is quite deep technical engineering, and it's sometimes not as visual or as easy to communicate to a general audience. So although the engineers that are working with engineers in Bristol know what's going on here, it's very difficult in a Vox Pops kind of way to say, hey, this is the cool stuff that's going on in Bristol, because you need 5 or 10 years of fairly deep technical knowledge to really understand just how cool some of this stuff is. So Voxxed Days gives us an opportunity to put these people on a global platform to showcase what we're doing, things like this radio broadcast, the videos that will go up online afterwards, promote that to a global audience. And it's part of promoting the ecosystem in Bristol. And for me, running a community interest company, that's a really important part, is supporting and showcasing that community strength.
So you're supporting community strength, but how can people give back to you? How can people keep supporting events like this?
Come to the event. Voxxed Days Bristol 2018 will be taking place in the Watershed probably again next year. It will be on the website vox.com/Bristol. We will have our call for papers go out, follow the Twitter handle, check out the videos. You can also get involved, so there's a very active meetup community in Bristol. We have Southwest Cloud, Southwest Data, BrizTech, Bristol Java, and a dozen others. So for the local developer community, going along to those meetups is a really good way of supporting the ecosystem. Talking at those meetups is a fantastic way of developing your own confidence as a public speaker, but also giving the conference organisers a really good indication as to who those up-and-coming stars are. Because what we like to do is to showcase local talent. So if we find someone who's really cool, we can give them a platform on a slightly bigger stage at the annual conferences, which also gives them a bit more exposure. It supports Bristol, it supports their company, and it's a really good way of keeping that ecosystem supporting itself.
Brilliant, thank you. For those people who may have just tuned in, I'm here with John Bradford at Voxxed. John, could you just tell us how many people are here today?
We've got nearly 200 people today, mainly chief technology officers, principal architects, senior developers, all from companies either local to Bristol, local to the UK, based in Europe, India, Brazil, America. So yeah, all over.
Wow. And this event is obviously all about technology, but what relationship do you yourself have with technology?
So I'm a heavy user of technology. I'm not a software developer by profession myself. My own background is in mechanical engineering, but I've spent 10 or 15 years working between industry and the universities, building collaboration and innovation networks. So my expertise is very much as a translator between technologies to bring different communities together, help them find their areas of common interest, and then to put together the projects and platforms and initiatives that deliver on what they want. So for me, organising Voxxed Days was a big project, but a project that I could put into a process and then deliver.
Thank you. What do you think the importance in showing young people, especially technology, and how to get into technology?
It's critical. Whatever those young people do in their future lives, careers, aspirations, will involve technology. And I think it's so important that they understand how that technology works, because they will either be controlled by that technology or they will take control of that technology. And it's only by giving people an insight into how software works, how you design systems, that they will be able to see beneath the magic glass tablet and understand what's actually happening inside. And once they do that, then they can make the decision whether to be software developers and architects in their own right, or whether to use that technology in the creative industries or business or whatever their choices are. But because they understand how it works, they're in a much stronger position to take full advantage of what that can do for them.
Thank you. Well, here at Voxxed there are many people here, but I can't help noticing the minority of women here. and how, despite encouragement, there are still less women. What do you think about this? Are there pushes for more women in the industry, or is there just a lack of interest?
There's certainly not a lack of interest at your age, as we've seen. It's a challenge. There's a long history of sometimes overt, often unconscious bias against females and other diversity within the industry. It is a long-term challenge. The larger companies are making very active efforts to address that challenge through changing recruitment policies, different ways of encouraging people in. So a number of companies are now looking at re-internships for people who have taken a career break. They can come back in on flexible terms whilst they come back up to speed with the technology that's developed since they left, or just whilst their life situation changes to a position they're able to take full-time employment. And that's an important way of getting those people back in. It's also critical to give younger people an opportunity to see that this is a viable career path. So another initiative that we're running within HBB is the DigiLocal scheme, where we're working with community centres, libraries, schools, youth groups, to provide them with the equipment, resources, project guides and industry mentors to give those kids, young people, a regular high-quality engagement with technology that they can then use to make the decision from an informed perspective whether they want to go on and be a software developer or whether they want to do something else, but they understand how technology works. So we've worked very closely with Women's Tech Hub and with others to promote this event to a broader audience, and we've tried to be as inclusive as we can. We've still got more to do, and we will be doing more between now and next year to build on that. But I think it's fantastic that we've got over 10% of our speakers are female. We've got roughly 10% of our delegates are female. The ethnic diversity is quite broad, but we recognise that it is an issue. We still need to work at it, but there are strides being made.
Fantastic. Opposite me, and I'm sure you heard Dyson using their new Hoover just now. Are there any other speakers or sponsors here today that you're particularly excited about?
I'm excited about all of them. They're fantastic sponsors. We love them. No, they all, and genuinely, they are all doing some very interesting stuff. So you mentioned Dyson. Most people think of them as a home appliance engineering firm. They are now moving heavily into software, connected systems, the connected home. As much of their future revenue will come from software and intellectual property as from the hardware that they have done in the past. Oracle are making some real innovations in cloud computing at the high performance end, the enterprise end, so it's amazing to have them here. And as I say, their engineering team's in Bristol. Scott Logic have long been innovators in software development. They've been a long time supporter of innovation and the ecosystem in Bristol, so they're always good folks to have around. Amazon have a number of different business streams, and their UK video arm that are sponsoring today are delivering new ways of consuming content online. AWS, Amazon Web Services, most people know is one of the first and probably the largest cloud hosting provider. They're a big supporter. But we've also got IMDb here in Bristol, so the Internet Movie Database is another great example of that creative, high-tech crossover that I think Bristol does especially well. So yes, all our sponsors are innovators in technology. They're all supporters of Bristol, and they're all fantastic to have here supporting us.
Finally, although this is about technology, another aspect of it is, of course, networking. Do you have any advice for any people who might find it hard to network, or those who might want to go into jobs where networking is crucial?
So the two things I've always found when networking are, one, just be polite. Nobody doesn't want to talk to other people, so if you go up and are polite and say, hello, how are you? Most people will give you a friendly face. Unless they're deep in technical conversation, you can usually score that. The other key thing is most people enjoy talking about what they enjoy doing. So a great opener I always find is just to ask people what's cool and exciting. And that will then get them talking about stuff they're interested in, which may be themselves, but it may be the technology. Mm-hmm. And once they're talking about that, you can then follow that up with questions about the specifics, try and make a link back to what you do, see how what you do could support what they do. If you're able to make an offer of another connection or an idea, then that's really useful because it helps them do their job. So a lot of the times when I'm talking to people, whilst they're telling me what they're doing, what's really cool, as well as listening to that so I can make sensible comment back, I'm also trying to think, who do I know that also does that? Have you spoken to these guys? Because they'd be really cool to talk to. Or have you thought about this network or this project or this community? Because everybody wants to do good stuff, I think, intrinsically. And building those connections is what I do. And if you're a young person and you don't have those, then just listening to what people are talking about, what they're excited about, reflect that back to them. And if they do they do give you the invitation and opportunity to get in touch through a business card, do follow up quickly, reference the conversation. One of the most annoying things for me is the little ping on LinkedIn that says, "Hello, I'd like to connect with you." And who are you? Why? Yeah. So a quick note, hey, we met last night, we talked about this, that was really cool, here's me, can I have a chat? Most people will be very friendly towards you.
Thank you very much. And that was John Bradford speaking to us today. This is Thea Rickard from Redmayne School, and we're at the Voxxed event.